with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Tony, good afternoon. What's going on today? What do you have for me?
Christopher, that last caller had it right. The Celtics traded the number 1 pick to the 76ers. It was a Brooklyn pick, but remember they had 2 picks, so they traded down with 76ers. 76ers moved up and took Marquez.
And what did the Celtics get by moving down 2 spots?
I was just looking it up while you got to me, so I don't know.
You might be right. Regardless, well, then Philadelphia made a mistake. I mean, Ainge out-scouted him. As simple as that.
And here's the thing. Remember, there was that whole issue as to that Danny Ainge was kind of like a great poker player because he was even insinuating that he was going to take Lonzo Ball regardless of what Papa Ball was saying. So he slid down. He gave it to the Sixers who wanted Fultz because Simmons couldn't shoot. So they took Fultz, and Jason Tatum slid down to 3, which is who Danny.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, that sounds familiar. A little emaciations by Danny as far as the draft is concerned. Tatum is we should have thought of this. He told us, Krzyzewski, Tatum's better than all 3 of the rookies. He's better than Donovan Mitchell, and he's better than Simmons. Give me Tatum. I'll take him.
Absolutely. And let me just say this, you have these past callers that were saying, well, without Kyrie Irving and, going forward, we forget that in the first round, they didn't have Marcus Smart until the end of that series with Milwaukee. And Marcus Smart is a great on-the-ball defender. He's a rebounder. He's the one that came to the basket last night when Tatum missed that.
Yeah, he got the basket. He got the basket. Plus, he made the steal. Plus, he made the steal on the incredibly asinine play with Philadelphia in the last 2.5 seconds. You can't get dumber than that. Can't get dumber.
He's a big kid. Marcus Smart, he played in the Big 12, Oklahoma State. He's a big kid. He can handle the ball. Doesn't shoot very well, but he does everything that you need to happen, and obviously Stevens uses him well. But let me give you one last point on Brown. How is it that Jason Tatum got that layup that put him up too? What happened? Again on a switch. Again coming out of the timeout. Who was on Jason Tatum underneath the basket? Little guard McCollum at 6'1", and where was Embiid? Out in the perimeter eating hot dogs with Al Horford. Guarding the 3.
Yeah, good point. The sideline expertise of Stevens is absolutely mind-boggling, and I don't know how he doesn't get a vote for Coach of the Year. Now, I don't know if it's jealousy. Every coach knows that the whole world thinks Stevens is great. That probably bothers him. They're coaching the Celtics. He's making a ton of money. I don't know. How does anybody in the NBA? How did any coach in the NBA? Why? Because Quinn Snyder was 19-29 at one point. I guess that's the reason. And Nate McMillan traded George and they won 47 games. I guess that's the reason. Brett Barry had a lot of young kids. He won 50 games. But how does any coach in the NBA not give Stevens a Coach of the Year? Gives those 6 guys Coach of the Year possibilities over Stevens, who lost Kyrie Irving for 22 games and never had Hayward all year and won 55 games. What coach, I like to know that. What 6 coaches or 7 coaches, as it turns out, somehow in their little brain, and then I mean little, decided to, I could see Casey, all right, no argument. But how does any coach fill out that ballot and say, you know what? Nate McMillan did a better job than Brad Stevens. What are you, smoking? Holy gosh. And maybe, this is Stevens probably hates all this noise about how great he is. And the sideline reporter last night, long-winded as usual, asked Tatum twice about Stevens in a postgame. Twice. Back to back. How does he do it? In about 30 words. Instead of how does he do it, it's, Brad Stevens, Jason, has figured out both offensively and defensively where to place all 5 players on what square on the court, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. Can you possibly explain how, somehow, some way, whether it might be film room, study hall, sideline, has Brad Stevens figured out a way to get the most out of you? That's how long it takes to ask a question. Instead of saying, Jason, how does he do it? 35 seconds. Anybody see that? And I'm not just picking on people. That is accurate. Boy, I'm in a goofy mood. Here's Ronnie and Toledo, Ohio. Ron, good afternoon. How are you today? What's going on?
Okay, Don, first of all, I got two things, and then I'll hang up. Number one, I'm going to tell you why he didn't become Coach of the Year.
Why's that?
Because all those damn leprechauns at the Boston house is helping him out. So why would you want to give Coach of the Year for someone who's got leprechauns helping him? And number two,
right.
who are you taking tonight in Game 7? Take it off the air. Thanks.
Well, Ronnie, that's a tricky one. You want me to give it to you for your bet. I think it's a dead even game, so I would take the plus. Winnipeg has a little more offense. They're a little bit more dynamic. Nashville obviously has experience. They throttled Winnipeg in Game 6. They got the building out there on their side. It is a very, very tricky game to call. Couldn't answer it. I wish I could. Couldn't. Eddie in Pennsylvania, and he's quickly on Mad Dog Unleashed. Eddie, good afternoon.
Well, doggy, for one, I got to ask you one question now. 2018, June 2nd, Falcon, are you coming?
Far come, Eddie. On June 2nd this year, I will pass. They do not need they don't need me for their show. That little program with Babchek, with the sideline smoking a cigar, and Evan, who's never heard of Red Auerbach. They do not need me at that event under any circumstances. I'll call in.